Suicide, the worst epidemic faced by this generation. When you look at the data, you see a steady increase in the suicide rates, especially in youngsters in the 15 to 29 age group. In a study published by the British medical journal, The Lancet, which included about the suicide rates, it was found in the world's data that South Indian teenagers have the maximum suicide rates. So you might be wondering, so what is the reason for this increase? One thing which we need to keep in mind is young people face unique and multiple challenges during this phase, especially during adolescence and as well as young adults. So looking at some of the things which have changed over the years is the increasing amount of pressure for academics and the changing cultural norms, the influence of the West upon the Indian culture, and you also see the strong influence of media over the growing youngsters. We have heard about increase in suicides, especially among adolescents, after taking up challenges in games which are based on internet. And something which is common is we also see an increase in suicide in adolescents, especially following a popular figure who commits suicide. All these things have caused significant impact on the lives of the adolescents, causing them to be prone to stress and also puts them at a risk of developing mental health problems. Those who have diagnosed mental health disorders such as depression and anxiety, especially when there is a family history of suicide in the family members, if there is history of alcohol or substance use, if there is a history of a previous attempt, and also if the adolescent is known to have impulsive behaviors, especially that they often get into trouble without understanding the consequences of the same. Following a conflict with a family member, breakup of a relationship, death of a loved one, especially if it's a parent, or an attachment figure who the child is attached to, following child sexual abuse, physical violence, emotional abuse, failure in academics, bullying is something which is very common, which could be cyberbullying or in the school context. Lacks interest or motivation to do routine things, becomes withdrawn, expresses feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness. You notice changes in the sleeping and eating patterns. You see there's a steady decline in the academic performance. Neglects self-care, frequently talks about suicide and topics related to death. Increased use in alcohol or other substance. Engages in risky behaviors such as fast driving or sexual behaviors, self-harm behaviors such as cutting. Researches about various methods to resort to self-harm. Early identification and treatment of depression or anxiety, emotional and psychological support, especially from the family and from friends, discourage social isolation, encourage your youngsters to seek help early, teach them to build mature interpersonal relationships. Collaborate with teachers for creating positive school experiences. Avoid pressure on youngsters to excel beyond their capabilities. Work towards realistic academic goals. Teach your adolescents life skills, how to cope in difficult situations, problem-solving skills. Most important things as parents, the responsibility is to build self-esteem and to cultivate optimism. You need to teach your adolescent how to handle failures. That is something which the youngsters lack these days. They find it difficult to face failures and to limit access to means to procure objects which could be used to harm oneself. Research confirms that religion is a protective factor against suicide. Whenever you suspect that your adolescent is having suicidal ideas, do not be afraid to ask your adolescent about thoughts related to suicide. It's important for you to understand inquiring about suicidal ideas will not push your adolescent to commit suicide. Do not hesitate to initiate a conversation with your adolescent. Encourage him or her to talk about his or her feelings. Listen patiently without being judgmental. Be patient. Do not be hasty in giving advice. Make an attempt to understand their feelings. Reassure your adolescent of your love and your support. No matter how big the problem is, no matter how much they have messed up, assure them that as a parent that you are there with them. Help them understand that with your support, they could overcome their problems. Especially in a suicidal crisis, it's important to seek professional help early. Look out for help around you. Look at various professional help, such as taking the help of a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, or a psychiatrist at the earliest. And once you start taking help, be an active member in the treatment plan. As a community, what is our response to prevent suicide among adolescents? Remember, listening to someone with empathy and unconditional regard, with a non-judgmental attitude, could save the life of a young person. On this World Suicide Prevention Day, take a minute to look around the young people around you. Take a minute to look if something is different. If you sense that something is different, take another minute to initiate a conversation and ask, "Are you okay?" A simple sentence like, "Are you okay?" could actually make a big difference, leading to a conversation which could be life-changing. So let us all join together as a community of professionals, parents, to prevent suicide. Let's fight against suicide, and together we can achieve this. Thank you. We hope that this video was helpful for you.